why wait to give when the impact could start today? Hi, I'm Rob West. It's easy to assume generosity will grow over time after we've earned more, saved more, or reached a certain level of financial security. But what if waiting causes us to miss something greater? Today, Cody Hobelmann joins us to talk about the impact of giving now, not later. And then it's on to your calls at 800-525-7000. This is Faith and Finance Live, biblical wisdom for your financial journey. Well, it's always a treat to welcome my friend Cody Hobelmann back to the program. He's a certified financial planner, a certified kingdom advisor, and a trusted contributor to our quarterly publication, Faithful Steward. Cody also contributed, along with his brother Keelan, to our brand new Faith by Field guide, How Much Money is Enough. Together, they're the founders of the Finish Line Pledge, where they help awaken ordinary givers to lives of deeper joy, freedom, and adventure through setting a financial finish line. Cody, great to have you back with us.
Thanks, Rob. It's always great to be here.
Cody, in your latest article for Faithful Steward, you open with a really honest reflection that early on you thought the goal was to become wealthy so you could give more away later. But I know over time God began to reshape that perspective. Share a bit about that with us.
Yeah, Rob, my giving journey really started with a step of obedience by giving 10% of my income to my local church, and God just began to reveal all kinds of things to me as I stepped into that. But I really thought that the best thing that I could do for the kingdom was to grow a huge pot of money that I accumulated so that I could give a lot later once I had a lot of money. But through hearing stories of radically generous givers, God started to challenge that assumption in my life, and I started to wonder, what am I missing by not giving more today?
Yeah, and that's the key idea behind this article. Now, you break it down by three types of givers: heart, soul, and head. I want to begin with heart givers, and I want to remind us of Acts 20:35, where it says, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." How does that truth shape our desire to give now rather than simply planning to give later?
Well, I think this verse is simply true. The act of giving, the experience of living generously does create a lot of joy in our lives. And that can be very compelling, especially for new givers who are experiencing that for the first time. It makes you want to give more and more frequently. And so giving to others creates a fulfillment in our lives that's really hard to replicate by spending or saving. And givers typically don't want to put off that joy. They want to experience it right now.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not something only for us. It's something we get to share with others, right?
That's absolutely right. As we give, we make relationships with people and organizations, and we get to step into shared purpose. And that can be a very catalytic force that just invites us deeper into generosity. And that can help shape our future giving decisions. We get better at giving by giving together. And so as you step into that, it just doesn't make sense to put off those opportunities when they're available right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You also point out in the article, Cody, that generosity doesn't stop with the initial gift. There's a multiplication factor in the lives of others, right?
That's exactly right. Just like I shared in my own story, hearing other people's stories was such a powerful force in inviting me into deeper generosity. And so we get to pass that along. We get to share our stories with others. And giving is simply contagious. When you see the joy created in a generous person, it makes you wonder, what do they have that I'm missing?
Yeah. So that's the heart givers. I want you to tee up before the first break this next type of giver that you call a soul giver, those who see generosity as a part of their spiritual formation. Share that with us.
Absolutely. Soul givers are leaning into the personal formation, just like you said, because giving requires us to trust God and to surrender some of what we believe that we earned. And so that process fundamentally transforms us, especially when we just start giving. That first step is often the biggest hurdle because it requires real faith to give at all. But over time, it starts to feel more natural and it really gives us life. And it strengthens our faith and our dependence on God.
We're talking about giving now, not later with Cody Hobelmann. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about that spiritual formation and how giving can deepen our walk. Also, givers who give around strategy, head givers, and what we need to know about that type of giving. More to come with Cody Hobelmann right after this. Why wait to give when the impact could start today? We're talking about giving now, not later with Cody Hobelmann. Cody is a certified Kingdom advisor. He's also the founder, along with his brother Keelan, of the Finish Line Pledge, where they help awaken ordinary givers to lives of deeper joy, freedom, and adventure through setting a financial finish line. You can check it out at finishlinepledge.com. We've been talking about three types of givers as we consider how to give now and not later. We were talking about givers that lead with the heart, those that are really leaning into spiritual formation through soul giving, and then head givers, we'll get to that in a moment, giving with a strategy and impact at the heart of what they're doing. Cody, as we talk about these soul givers, talk about what happens in our walk with the Lord and how this really can be a part of spiritual formation when we give.
Yeah, giving can be compared to building a muscle. That first time you get in the gym, there's some obstacles to overcome mentally and physically. And so once we make that first gift, we often have already gotten over that biggest hurdle, like I said earlier. But as we give consistently, we build confidence, and it helps us to be more obedient, to listen for the voice of the Spirit and to obey it without hesitation. And over time, giving really becomes an overflow from abundance rather than feeling like such a sacrifice of what we've already earned.
I love that you described it like building a muscle, because when generosity becomes a regular practice, it deepens our walk and creates more intimacy with the Lord, doesn't it?
That's exactly right. And I truly believe that generosity is a powerful tool that helps us to align our hearts with God's priorities. And that happens through reading scripture, through prayer, through giving with others. And over time, that will loosen our grip on money and our desire to control things that we really can't control in our lives. And that starts to shift our identity away from what we have and what we can earn and what we can do. And instead, our identity can be rooted in who we trust. And that whole process draws us closer to God as we trust Him more. And so giving is really a way that we can build deeper intimacy that accumulation of resources never can.
Yeah, that's right. So we've talked about heart givers, we've talked about soul givers. I want to talk about the third category that you talk about in your article in Faithful Steward, and that is head givers, those who think carefully about strategy and stewardship and even the impact of their giving. So from a practical standpoint, Cody, why does giving now often make more sense than waiting until later?
Yeah, when we give now, we get to build off of the experience. We can see the results. Has there been a good harvest from the seeds that we sowed long ago? And that can help inform where we would sow the next seeds. If we want to see a larger harvest, it's the experience of planting seeds year after year that allows us to see better results in the future.
Yeah, as a financial planner, we talk a lot about this idea of compound interest and what a powerful force it is. But you make a distinction in the article between compound interest and compound impact. So I'd love for you to describe that a bit and how that relates to giving now, not later.
I think about the impact of a life change today compared to a dollar growing with the rate of compound interest. It's just impossible to compare the two. God can do so much with so little. And so whatever we can imagine our money can grow into, God can do immeasurably more with our step of obedience. And so if we wait to build more financial resources using the means that we are aware of, we might be delaying incredible impact that God could do with our faithfulness.
Yeah. There's also a danger in holding resources too tightly or too long. I know in Matthew 6:19 through 21, Jesus warns us not to store up treasures on earth where they can fade, decay, or be lost. So how should we think about that warning, Cody, and allow that to shape the way we think about our giving?
Many of us know this from our own experiences that money comes and money goes, and we can't always predict what's going to happen in the future. And so we're not guaranteed to actually have those resources in the future, even if we intended to give them away and to invest those towards impact. Markets change, things happen in our lives. And so giving now turns temporary resources into eternal impact that lasts beyond our lifetime. And when we delay our giving, it increases the risk that we're going to miss an opportunity.
Yeah, that's right. And as Ron Blue has taught us for a long time, do your giving while you're living so you're knowing where it's going. And there's a practical side of that as well. But I love that you're highlighting the eternal impact piece of this. Perhaps the most sobering component of this is that you remind us in the article that none of us is guaranteed tomorrow. And so how do we think about that reality and allow that to shape our generosity?
Yeah, it's not something that we love to talk about, but we have to face the truth that we observe it in life, and Scripture obviously reinforces the idea that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So all those resources that we've built up with the best of intentions, we have to put those in motion. We have to deploy those resources because we may not get a chance if we wait too long.
Yeah. You know, I love the finish line, and we talked about your role in contributing to our new field guide and the ministry Finish Line Pledge that you and Keelan started. I'd love for you to take just a moment and talk about how a lifestyle and what we call a lifetime finish line can allow you to accelerate the giving right now in a way that we've talked about.
Yeah, Rob, a lifestyle finish line simply flips the question from how much should I give to how much should I keep. And when we can define how much is enough, it frees up all kinds of possibilities in our minds, and it drives us to ask God, what would you have me do with your resources that I'm not going to consume and spend on myself? And that just opens up an incredible conversation with God that leads us into all kinds of amazing adventures. And likewise, that lifetime finish line of how much is an appropriate amount to accumulate throughout life, it opens up the same possibilities. If we understand how much is enough, then we can start to dream with God about how to deploy his resources.
That's well said. Cody, we're about out of time. For the person who's listening today who keeps waiting for the, quote, right time to become more generous, what encouragement would you leave them with?
I think for each of us, there is a step that we can take this week. And you can start small. It doesn't have to be this extravagant, dramatic act, but the most important thing is to start now. And just watch how God will use that step of faith to grow you and to multiply the impact.
Yeah, that's right. I'm so encouraged by so many calls I'm getting from people saying, listen, I'm going to die in many cases with millions of dollars in my trust, let's say, and why shouldn't I be giving some of that away right now? And I would say, amen. Let's get that into the kingdom, compounding for all eternity. Folks, don't wait to be generous. As Cody has shared with us, giving shapes your heart, it deepens your faith, it multiplies kingdom impact in ways delayed generosity never can. Cody, thanks for your time today.
Thanks so much, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Our guest today has been Cody Hobelmann, Certified Kingdom Advisor and founder of the Finish Line Pledge. Cody wrote on this topic in the latest issue of Faithful Steward magazine, available exclusively to FaithFi partners who support the ministry at $35 a month or $400 a year. You can learn more at faithfi.com/give. Back with your questions after this. Stick around.
The opinions offered during this program represent the personal or professional opinions of the participants given for informational purposes only. Any information provided is not intended to replace advice from a financial, medical, legal, or other professional who understands your specific situation.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. Well, it's time to take your calls and questions. That number to call is 800-525-7000. Again, we'd love to take those questions from you today, help you think about applying biblical wisdom to your financial decisions. Lines are open. We're ready for you. We're going to begin those calls here in just a moment. So call right now, 800-525-7000. Before we dive into those questions, in the news today, the U.S. Department of Education is offering eligible federal student loan borrowers a temporary 1 percentage point interest rate reduction when you enroll in automatic payments. Now, the discount begins July 1 and runs through June 30th, 2028. Borrowers already on auto pay will receive it automatically. Others must enroll by September 30th of this year and stay enrolled to keep the benefit. To qualify, loans must be direct loans dispersed on or after July 1st, 2012. So this is going to include direct subsidized, unsubsidized, plus, Parent Plus, and direct consolidation loans. The FFEL loans, the private loans, loans in default, none of those are going to be eligible unless borrowers bring them back into good standing. Autopay can lower costs and help prevent missed payments, but borrowers need to monitor their accounts carefully for billing errors and contact their servicer promptly if they are charged incorrectly. So again, if you're able to enroll in autopay and you do it by September 30th, you could have, for qualifying loans, you could have a 1 percentage point reduction on interest, which would be great. And we would love for you to be able to take advantage of that. Don't miss it if that applies to you. All right, let's dive into your questions today. Again, that number, 800-525-7000. We would love to hear from you today. We do have some lines open for you. Let's begin in Indiana. Randy, go right ahead, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Well, thank you for taking my phone call. And
Absolutely.
bless your ministry. You do good things.
Thank you, sir.
I have a granddaughter and her husband, both young couple, 23, 24, and they made some mistakes before they got married, mostly my granddaughter, and they're a little bit over their head in debt. I think what they want to do is take their debt, put it in one basket, and make one payment, because paying all these creditors or people that they owe money is just dragging them down the tubes.
Yeah.
Me and my wife have helped them out considerably, but we can't do that no more because we're retired.
Yes. Yes.
What they need is some help, some direction. And I listen to your program every day, and I got the phone number this afternoon, and I wanted to call and see what do I tell them? Where do they want to go? And
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the question so much, and I know you love your granddaughter, and it's understandable that you want to help. I also think, despite your own financial challenges in this season of life where you're on a fixed income and don't have the ability to continue to help them, even if you did, you continuing to pay off their mistakes without a plan may unintentionally keep them from developing the habits they need to succeed financially, and just allow the Lord to work in their lives through these, the implications of these decisions. And so, here's some thoughts and maybe where you go from here. I think, in perhaps an honest conversation focused on love, not criticism, let them know that you care about their future. You want to see them thrive. I think secondly is I would be willing to help by providing a certified Christian financial counselor that could walk alongside them. That would get you out of the position, and I'm not sure that you have done this, but if you have, it would get you out of the position of being that accountability for them. That way you can just love and encourage them and let somebody else kind of be the one to step in and provide that guidance and correction and accountability for the plan. And, that would be someone that can meet with them virtually, 3 or 4 or 5 sessions, getting them set up on a spending plan, helping them to see where they might need to cut back, perhaps giving them suggestions so they could bring their spending in line. Because whatever method we use to pay off the credit cards is all for naught if we don't fix the problem that got them there in the first place. So we need a kind of a dual track where they're working on their budget and their spending plan at the same time they're working toward getting that debt paid off. Because it's more than $4,000, and that's kind of typically my point at which under $4,000, I would recommend snowballing it, smallest to largest balance, attack that smallest card first, and then move right down the line. But over $4,000, which is what we have here, I would recommend you consider credit counseling. And so I would reach out to or connect them to Christian credit counselors that you'll find it at faithfi.com/CCC. That's faithfi.com/CCC. What's going to happen is each of those creditors that they have a credit counseling department. And when the account is moved there, again, it stays at the creditor. It just slides over to credit counseling. They have pre-negotiated, already in place lower interest rates that are made available through that program, but you can't access it on your own. You have to go through a credit counseling agency like Christian Credit Counselors. But when you do, the interest rate's going to drop from an average of 22% down to somewhere between 0 and 10. And with that one level payment, the lower interest rate, and the work that the certified Christian financial counselor is going to do with them, which is not going to cost them anything, we'll pay for it. I think that's going to get them pointed in the right direction and get you out of a position of continuing to throw money at a problem that's not ultimately going to get better until these issues are solved. Does that all make sense to you?
It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
What I need then is how do I contact the Christian counseling?
Yeah. So stay on the line. We're going to get you connected to the certified Christian financial counselor. They'll call you, and I'll go over that URL for the other as well. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. We're taking your calls and questions today. We've got some lines open. We'd love to hear from you. The number 800-525-7000. That's right. You can call right now with any financial question. We're taking those questions today, whether it's living, giving, owing, or growing God's money, whatever you have on your mind. Call right now. The team is standing by at 800-525-7000. Let's go to Chicago. Brian, how can we help, sir?
I have a brother that has special needs, and he has some funds. We both are seniors, and he has some funds in the unclaimed property.
Okay.
And I need to know. I have a letter that's explaining to me how to go about to get it, but I'm not computer literate, okay. And I probably would like to get someone to help me because we've been living together for over 20 years.
Yes.
And he needs some things now, and I can't get them, and I'm his payee.
I see. So, do you have legal authority to act on his behalf?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And is that through a power of attorney or something else?
Authorization of information letter.
Okay. Yeah, you're going to need to make sure that that's valid. That's an authorization to receive information is usually not the same thing as legal authority to act on his behalf, which is going to include claiming or receiving someone else's money. And so you're going to want to make sure generally that's done through what's called a financial power of attorney or a court-appointed guardianship. The authorization for release of information will typically allow you to discuss maybe, information or discuss the claim, but not authorize you to sign claim forms or to be the one to receive the funds on his behalf. But the next step, once you have that financial power of attorney, would be to contact the Illinois Unclaimed Property Office and explain that you're assisting your brother who has special needs. Ask what documentation they require for a representative to file a claim on your brother's behalf. And then if you have, once you have that durable financial power of attorney or guardianship papers, you'll provide that as well. And then they can walk you through exactly what the steps are and what documentation they will need for you to do what's called a representative claim. And if the authorization letter is insufficient, they'll explain what additional authority is needed. But the office that you're calling is the State of Illinois Unclaimed Property Office.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be through the Illinois State Treasurer's Office, and that's where you're going to want to go next. So I would reach out to them, tell them what's going on describe the situation, and they'll tell you exactly what information you need. And I know you're not comfortable doing this online, and that's okay. You can probably do it all through the phone and the mail, but you're going to need to find out exactly what documents they're going to require for you to be able to make this claim on his behalf.
Okay. How would I go about finding that number?
Yeah. Do you have a friend or a family member that could help you get on the internet?
I'm not really computer literate.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was thinking maybe somebody could help you with that. Let me see if I can get the phone number here for you. It's very easy to do online. If you had maybe somebody at your church or a friend that was able to, assist you with this, it's the actual program in Illinois there is called iCash, and I don't know. I'm sure they have a phone number. It's just like everything these days where they make it more difficult for you to do it through the phone, because then they have to have somebody to answer the call, and they just rather do everything online. I'm not seeing the number. So here's what I'd love for you to do is, maybe at your church, maybe there's a friend that you have, somebody that you trust, that you could work through to go to the Illinois Unclaimed Property website. And, perhaps there's a phone number there. I'm not seeing it. But at the very least, you could explore that website if you can find somebody to help you. But that's the next step.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate that. It's been about 5 years now.
Oh, okay. Well, the good news is they hang on to that, so you should be able to get it back. It's just gonna take a little bit of work here, but once you've got it, I'm sure you'll be glad you have it. Thanks for your call today, and you sound like a wonderful brother. Call anytime, sir. Let's go to Lake Placid. Erica, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. My question is really simple. How would you go about creating a budget based on an income that is lower than your bills coming in? Let me clarify, the bills are all essential. There's nothing that I've already tried cutting back everything that I could, and it's still not working.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And if you feel like all the bills are essential, I think the first step is to determine, whether you have a spending issue, an income issue, or both. And so it sounds like you've done this, but I think kind of the steps are list all the monthly income, list every expense, start with the fixed essentials. So housing, utilities, insurance, transportation, minimum debt payments, then move to the variable, the groceries, the gas, then move to the non-essentials, the subscriptions, the dining out, the entertainment, the convenience purchases. Maybe you've already eliminated all of those. Look for any small reductions that can add up. Maybe it's trying to find a way to lower your utility costs. Maybe it's reducing grocery spending. Maybe there's still a few subscriptions you need to cancel, or renegotiating a phone bill or an internet bill if you even have those. If the budget still doesn't balance after trimming those expenses, then we've got an income issue, and we need to look at, if you're physically able, can you work some extra hours? Could you work overtime? Could you take a part-time job? Could you sell some unused items? Could you look for a higher paying position? And if the debt payments are what's making the budget impossible, could you contact creditors to ask about a hardship option? Could you get set up with our friends at Christian Credit Counselors? The key idea is that every dollar needs to have a job. You need to assign every dollar of income to a category before the month begins so that planned spending does not exceed the expected income. Here's what I'd be willing to offer is, let's see if we can get a certified Christian financial counselor to walk alongside you. Erica, we'll pick up the tab for it, so it won't cost you anything, but perhaps this could be a way for somebody with a fresh set of eyes to come in there and maybe give you some creative ideas on where you need to go from here on both the income and the expense side. So let's do this. I'm going to have you hold the line. Trisha's going to grab the phone and get your information, and we'll get you connected with a certified Christian financial counselor. We're going to pay for it. We'll be praying for you as well. I appreciate your call. We'll be back with more questions after this. Stay with us. Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance Live. I'm Rob West. We may have room for one more question between now and the end of the program, other than those already holding. So if you have a question, call right now, 800-525-7000. We'd love to hear from you today. Let's dive back in. We're going to head out to Grand Rapids and talk to Phyllis. Go ahead.
Hello, Rob. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
My husband and I have a daughter in her 30s, lives independently, and has made many bad choices over the years. But one of them that we're concerned about right now and trying to counsel her on is she bought a car from one of those no money down, sign on the dotted line and drive it away and pay for the rest of your life. But she didn't know any of that. She's not very wise about money decisions. So what we're asking is, she has this car that she bought, and it turned into, right as she drove it off the lot, against our better judgment, it had issues, major issues. She put a couple thousand into it and still had major issues. And they said, you drove it off the lot. Sorry, we didn't have time for you to test drive it before you bought it. That's on you. And she paid way too much for it, $12,000 for, at the most, a $5,000 car. Now, fast forward, she doesn't have a car. It's toast. It's gone. And she still owes $12,000, even though she paid on it for a couple of years because of the interest rate. I'm sure it just didn't go down. And then they sent it to collection when she stopped paying on it because she lost her job, etc. And now it's in collection, or not in collection, it's in garnishing her wages. Is it possible? Well, we could pay it off tomorrow, but that's not what we think is wise because she doesn't learn from her mistakes that way. And we want to support her and help her, but we want to help her the right way. Can we get her into credit counseling, or is it too late for this issue?
Yeah. Wow. And I know this one's weighing on you, and I appreciate so much your desire to honor her desire to be independent, but also to help her to learn from this to the extent she has the capacity to do that. This could be a valuable lesson, and yet we also want to protect her at the same time we're allowing her to grow. And so I really appreciate all of that. I mean, going back to the original situation here, and I realize it sounds like it's been some time, but I'd probably start by gathering all the facts. I mean, review the purchase contract, the financing agreement, the repair estimates, the payment history. Let's find out exactly what she signed. That's essential. Maybe you've already done that. We're trying to determine, though, was she scammed or did she just simply get a bad deal? Because if they misrepresented the vehicle or failed to disclose known issues or violated consumer protection laws, or she didn't have the capacity to fully understand the legal agreement and financial agreement she was signing, then, if any of those are true, you're probably going to want to get a Michigan consumer protection attorney involved if you have the ability to do that financially, who could help navigate this from a legal standpoint, which I certainly can't do. There's a chance that if it is a predatory loan, that could invalidate it. I'm not saying that's a guaranteed thing, but it's possible they could force them to unwind the sale. At the very least, the involvement of an attorney would get them to take it seriously, because one of the challenges is, when you contact the dealer or the lender and explain the situation, often these predatory lenders are difficult to work with just by, the very nature of the business they're in. And I think with the serious nature of an attorney being involved, it's going to get their attention, and that may help you to resolve this a little bit quicker. In terms of, where you go from here, apart from getting some legal assistance from a consumer protection attorney, I think it's okay to let the natural consequences to be the teacher here, but you don't want those consequences to become so overwhelming they permanently derail her financially or emotionally. So, you could have her take ownership by being the one to gather the paperwork, maybe pulling all that information together, being there as you talk to the attorney, coach her through the process rather than doing it for her. And then require her to contribute to the solution. So if financial help is needed, she could pay reasonably what she can, even if you guys can cover part of it. And I don't know if you have the ability to do that, but I think she needs to have a part in this to the extent she's able. And then, review with her as a learning experience what warning signs she missed, how to compare financing, why pre-purchase inspections matter, how to avoid predatory sellers. I mean, there can be a real learning process here if it's intentional. And then maybe moving forward, you set a family rule that any major financial decision, and you set maybe a dollar threshold, has to get discussed first, and frame it as seeking wise counsel, not asking permission, perhaps. So, I think that's perhaps the way to go here in terms of the next steps. But let me stop there and just get your thoughts on all that.
Well, I appreciate everything you're saying. I don't know how to say it in a delicate way, but she is quite a bit more limited than she thinks she is. Okay. The paperwork, I asked her about it, and she was able to get a printout from the collection agency or the guarantee people, but she doesn't have any idea what she signed or if it was she didn't even know if it was a lease or a loan, and has no idea what interest rate, and she has no paperwork. And she's coming into town. She lives on the other side of the state. Coming into town, I have basically one day to take her over to the car lot and ask them to please give us a copy of the paperwork. Would that be something that they might cooperate with? I don't know. Otherwise, we have nothing other than the guarantee people are coming after her. And from where we sit, it will be the rest of her life because it never goes down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I certainly understand that. Yeah, I'd recommend, if you have the capacity to do this financially, I'd recommend talking to an attorney first, because if she doesn't know what she signed, she doesn't have any paperwork, again, he or she may say, the attorney, that, essentially she should have had the capacity to understand this. She just didn't take the time to understand what she was signing, and it's really going to come down to whether she had the legal capacity to understand what she was doing, and that may involve a judge getting involved in that decision. But essentially, an attorney could advise you on the best way to obtain copies of the documents and protect her rights. And I think going back to the dealer without understanding the contract could make it more confusing. And again, if there was any deceptive or predatory practices, I'm not saying there were, we don't know, but an attorney could determine the best strategy for communicating with the dealer if that's the direction the attorney wants to take. So I would say that's probably your best option if you're willing to go down that road. If you don't want to do that, then I would say at the very least, you need to go with her and be pretty, serious about requesting all the documentation. And if you believe this is true, making it known that you didn't believe she had the capacity, to enter into this kind of agreement. And, they may dispute that, and that's ultimately, for the courts to decide if it gets that far. But I think that's the path forward.
Okay, thank you so much. The truth is, she was in special ed her whole life.
Yeah.
And so she did not have the capacity to make any kind of informed decision, to the point of driving it off the lot, signing a document. She had no idea about what it meant, and basically driving it away because they said they're closing. If you want that car, you just have to take it now and sign here. And that's what she did, and it had nothing but problems driving it off the lot.
Yeah, I certainly understand. And unfortunately, it's going to be your word against hers unless a court determines that based on, her history, that they should have known that she didn't have the capacity to enter into an agreement like this. So, I think an attorney is your best next option. We appreciate your call today, Phyllis. We'll be praying for you. I know this is a lot, but I'm glad you're walking alongside her in it. Let's quickly go to Miami. John, I've just got about a minute left. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Listen, Rob, you helped me out in 2020 get into a home, and that was great. We're still in it. But I was calling you. I'm a pastor down here in Miami, Florida, a church called the New St. James Missionary Baptist Church, and I've been a pastor since 2007. And, COVID and all, the membership have kind of dwindled. And the church has two properties there, the sanctuary, and then it has a property across the street, which we were calling the Fellowship Hall. And since the church has dwindled like that there, the Fellowship Hall has kind of took a beating through the years. The roof is bad, got some leaks going in there. And then not only that there, just the revenue that's coming in from the church, we wouldn't have enough to actually try to fix it. And so that's where we're at right now. And then as far as the sanctuary part, we were thinking like if we can sell the property across the street, then we could get, fix up the sanctuary. And so I have a warranty deed in front of me.
Let's do this, John. Unfortunately, I'm out of time, and I realize there's more to this question than I am going to have time to get to, but I would love to give you time to explain it and give you my thoughts. Let me see if my team can get you scheduled to be first up on tomorrow's broadcast, and we can take our time and work our way through it. I appreciate your call, and sorry to cut you off. Big thanks to Taylor, Tricia, Josh, and Dan. Thanks for being with us today, folks. Come back and join us tomorrow. We'll see you then.